What's up, everybody? It's Scott from the Fantasy Boutique, back for another edition of Under Par. This episode of Under Par, we're going to recap last week's event, the Players' Championship, as well as dive into this week's event, the AT&T Bryon Nelson at the Trinity Forest Golf Club in Dallas, Texas. As for last week, the Players' Championship, we saw Webb Simpson absolutely destroy the field. It was kind of a snooze fest after Friday. We've seen a bunch of scoring. Had a few golfers eclipse 20-plus birdies for the week. A few golfers flirting with course and tournament records. And it was basically because of the relatively calm conditions. That course is designed to have wind, and there was really little to no wind all weekend. The fireworks started on Thursday. We had a six-way tie for first place after the first round. Patrick Cantlay, Chesson Hadley, Dustin Johnson, Matt Kuchar, Alex Noren, and Webb Simpson all tied at 6 under. Webb then decided he wanted to go absolutely nuts on Friday, posted a 9 under 62, took a 5-shot lead into the weekend. He ended up pushing that lead to 7 shots after the third round. And then he pretty much just coasted in from there, posted a 1 over 73 on the final round. Won by 4 shots over Charles Schwartzel, Xander Schauffele, Jimmy Walker. There was a point where the lead got down to, I think, 4 shots when he started the back 9, but everybody kind of faltered on the closing 3 holes, and he came away victorious. A few of the highlights from last week: we had rounds of 65 from Jordan Spieth and Tiger Woods on Saturday. Brooks Koepka set a course record with a 63 in the final round. He had an albatross 2 on the par 5 16th hole. How dominant was Webb Simpson this week? He was first in driving accuracy, first in strokes gained putting, which was his nemesis for the last year and a half, 2 years. He was second in total birdies. He was third in strokes gained around the green, and he was 5th in greens and regulation. So, like I said, I think it's pretty safe to say going forward that Webb Simpson's got this putting thing figured out after he had to change methods after they implemented the anchor band a few years ago. As for our picks last week, or my picks, we had Paul Casey, who, after we recorded the show, he ended up decided he wanted to withdraw with an injury. We had Webb Simpson, who was the winner. Francesco Molinari, Zach Johnson missed the cut. Our value plays were pretty strong. Emiliano Grillo was 37th. Nick Watney was 37th. Chris Kirk was 46th, and Chesson Hadley was 11th. I had a small profitable week. I didn't go crazy high ownership on Webb Simpson. I kind of put a lot of my eggs in the Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed basket. They, did all right, but if I would have had 50-60% exposure to Webb Simpson, it probably would have been a very nice week. On to this week, we head to the AT&T Bryon Nelson, I was going to say Classic, but at the Trinity Forest Golf Club in Dallas, Texas. It's a new venue for the event. It's a unique venue. It's I guess you would say, an American-style links course. You don't really see many links courses on the PGA Tour unless they're in a major where Chambers Bay or Erin Hills, they have a little bit of a links style feel. You see a lot of links courses across the pond in Europe. Take a breakdown of the course. It's a par 71 course, 7,380 yards, 4 par 3s, 3 par 5s, 11 par 4s. It is Bermuda greens, and it's got a unique grass for the fairways. It's what they call a Trinity Zoya. It was a grass that was specifically designed for this course. It's extremely drought resistant. It needs very little water to survive. It's designed to, as you know, with most courses or most greens, it's green when in the wetter months. It's going to turn brown in the summer months, but just because it's brown doesn't mean it's dead. It's just designed that way. Another added benefit of it is it only needs to be mowed like once or twice a week, whereas most golf courses, they're mowing the greens, pretty much every morning. The Trinity Forest Golf Course, it's located like 10 miles south or 10 miles from the center of Dallas. It was designed by architects Bill Core and Ben Crenshaw. It's actually built on a 150-acre site, which was an old illegal landfill. So that's pretty cool. They, with it being a landfill, there was some regulations that they couldn't just, throw a bunch of dirt down. They actually had to cap the area with like 1 to 2 feet of impermeable clay, and then they imported all the grass, all the sand and dirt to build up the course. With it being a landfill, they kept a lot of the mounds and undulations and stuff like that. So you're going to see a lot of that. The fairways are extremely wide. Some places are like 100 yards wide, so there shouldn't be any problem with driving accuracy. Depending on the way the course plays, just based off of the average driving distance for the field, you're probably going to see average approach shots between 140 and 160. The greens are very big. The part of the 3rd and the 11th hole actually share a double green, and it's something like 100 yards. In length, it's like 10,000 square feet. Although the greens are fairly large, there's probably going to be some sightline issues. So you're not going to have great targets. So the approach shots might feel like you're shooting into a smaller green complex than you actually are. It's going to be hot this week. Low 90s expected tomorrow and Sunday. And then there's a chance that Friday and Saturday could top 100 degrees. There was chance of a thunderstorm Monday night. There's a chance tonight, and then there's a chance tomorrow morning. So we'll see how that rain, if it does slow the course down. It's already been mentioned that the USGA has watered it more, and they're going to let the fairways grow to prevent the course from playing extremely tough. The director of grounds, Casey Cuff, I was actually listening to a podcast earlier in the week, and he says that, the PGA Tour is basically trying to make this a television production. They don't want to see scores of 5 and 6 over. They want to see a lot of birdies. So whether or not that happens is to be seen. I think it's going to be a tough course to play anyway, just because we got upwards of 50 golfers in the field that are ranked 500 or worse in the official World Golf Rankings. Key stats this week, as with most weeks: strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained putting, birdie or better percentage, bogey avoidance. With it being a new course, we can't really pin down exact stats we're looking for. Strokes gained ball striking, because the approach shots. With the plateaued greens, there's going to be a chance of missing the green, so you can either look at strokes gained around the green or scrambling. 11 par 4, so par 4 birdie or better percentage, or par 4 scoring. Average proximity. And then there's also a chance you might want to take a look at some of the Europeans, just because they have a familiarity with playing the link style courses overseas. On to our picks this week. First golfer is Jimmy Walker. He is 11,300 on FanDuel. He is 9,500 on Draftkings. He odds to win a tournament of 25-1. This picture is hilarious. I think Walker's finally found a balance between the rigors of playing golf while balancing his Lyme disease diagnosis a little over a year ago. Last year he showed up here, and that's when you kind of found out that he had the Lyme disease diagnosis was last year. around this time. He was never able to string anything together last year. That seemed to have all changed like a little over 2 months ago. If you include the Zurich team event, he's got top 25 finishes in each of his last 4 events. Take out the Zurich event, he's finished second last week at the TPC, 4th at the Valera, 20th at the Masters. He's a Texas native. We all know how passionate Texans are about their state. Last week at the TPC, he gained a shot on the field in every strokes gained category, with the best being he was a 9th in strokes gained tee to green. Over the last 5 tournaments, he leads the field in par 4 scoring and strokes gained on the par 4. He ranks inside the top 5 in birdie or better percentage, 2nd, 3rd in bogey avoidance, 3rd in strokes gained tee to green, 3rd in around the green, and 3rd in strokes gained putting. For the year, he's 11th according to the field or compared to the field in strokes gained tee to green, 12th in birdie or better percentage, 14th in strokes gained putting, 19th in scoring average, and 25th in strokes gained around the green. Second golfer is Aaron Wise. He's 8,700 on FanDuel, 8,800 on Draftkings. Odds to win the tournament 35-1. As with most rookies on the tour, they usually see an up and down roller coaster type of year. It's exactly how you could describe the year so far for Aaron Wise. He's made 10 of his 17 cuts, and then half of those 10 cuts have resulted in top 25 finishes. He seemed to have found a little consistency recently, which in this field can go a long way. He's made a cut in 5 of his last 6 events. That's minus the team event. He had a career best 2nd in his last tournament, the Wells Fargo. I'm looking for Wise to use his distance on hopefully a dry and fast course. Couple that with very good ball striking and putting as he plays into the weekend. Stats for Wise: he's 3rd in the field, scoring average, 3rd in par 4 birdie or better percentage. He is 5th in birdie or better percentage, 11th in par 4 scoring, 14th in driving distance, and he's 21st in strokes gained ball striking and strokes gained putting. Third golfer is Charles Howell III. He is 10,700 on FanDuel, 8,700 on Draftkings. Odds to win the tournament at 50-1. What more can you say about Charles Howell III other than he's been ultra consistent this year? He's made 15 of his 17 cuts. He's probably a lock for a cash game play, as he's slightly higher average price than the average salaried golfer on both FanDuel at 10,000 and Draftkings at like 8,300. He's got top 25 finishes in 5 of his last 6 events. He's made all 7 cuts in his last 7 events, dating back over the last couple months. Actually, all the way back to the Valspar. As I mentioned, this is a very weak field, so taking advantage of being able to roster, one of the top 19 or so top 100 players in the world at a fair price. Expect a good bit of ownership this week, as you're probably going to see a lot of DFS players gravitate more towards familiar names or known commodities as opposed to some of these web.com guys or guys that we're not really familiar with. Stats for Chucky 3 Sticks: he's 2nd in the field, scoring average, 5th in bogey avoidance, 6th in strokes gained tee to green, 7th in strokes gained ball striking. He is 15th in scrambling and 17th in par 4 scoring. The fourth golfer is Rory Sabatini. He's 8,900 on FanDuel. Love the cowboy hat there. 8,600 on Draftkings. Odds to win the tournament at 60-1. With it being an unknown course, like I mentioned, for DFS purposes, it's pretty safe to rely on statistical measures like strokes gained tee to green, birdie or better percentage, strokes gained ball striking, etc. You couple that with golfers that are playing really well. Sabatini is one of those guys who's been playing decent golf over the last month or so. He's got top 30 finishes in each of his last 3 individual events. 30th at the TPC, 27th at the Wells Fargo, 23rd at the RBC Heritage. The 2 most recent, the Wells Fargo and the TPC, are very strong fields, so that should help him playing in this weaker field. He's been a monster scoring lately. Over the last 5 tournaments, Sabatini ranks 3rd in the field, par 4 scoring, and 9th in strokes gained on par 4s. He's also 11th in birdie or better percentage. He also ranks highly in strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained ball striking over those last 5 tournaments. Stats for the year compared to the field, he is 13th in the field, strokes gained around the green. He's 13th in scoring average, 22nd in strokes gained tee to green, 23rd in scrambling, and then he's 25th in bogey avoidance and par 4 scoring. The 4th golfer is Peter Uihlein. He's 8,800 on FanDuel, 8,500 on Draftkings. He's odds to win the tournament at 66 to 1. Spending a number of years over on the European Tour, playing a bunch of these link style courses is only going to help or only going to benefit Uihlein this week. Unless a golfer, a PGA like tour member golfer, has played in the Open Championship, it's highly unlikely that they've ever experienced a PGA Tour setup or a professional tour setup on a links course style course. The reason for that is because they're so uncommon in the U.S. You're going to see a few like this week in Chambers Bay, Erin Hills, and then really you're not going to see any other link style courses unless you head up to the Pacific Northwest in like Oregon or Washington. Uihlein has history on links course. He finished 2nd in the 2013 Alfred Dunhill Links Championship that's played at St. Andrews, Carnoustie, and Kingsburn. Although that was 5 years ago, it shows he has the game to play on a link style course. He's coming in off a 5th place finish at the Wells Fargo, his best on the PGA Tour to date. Over the last 5 tournaments, Uihlein leads the field in scrambling. He's 5th in strokes gained around the green, 6th in driving distance. He's 9th in strokes gained tee to green, as well as bogey avoidance, and he's 11th in strokes gained on par 4s. Stats for the year compared to the field, Uihlein's 9th in par 4 scoring, 20th in driving distance, 21st in par 4 birdie or better percentage, and then he's 22nd in scoring average. The next golfer is Martin Laird. He's 10,000 on FanDuel. 7,900 on Draftkings. Odds to win the tournament at 45 to 1. Laird made the cut last week of the TPC, but he had a little bit of a setback, compared to how he'd been playing over his previous 3 tournaments. Those 3 tournaments, he finished 11th at the Valero, 32nd at the RBC, and 26th at the Arnold Palmer. I expect him to be potentially popular play based on his price and his recent play. Over the last 5 tournaments, Laird's been a really strong putter. He ranks 10th in the field, strokes gained putting, and he's 9th in scoring on the birdie or better percentage, and he's 12th in par 4 scoring. Stats for the year compared to the field, he is 6th in strokes gained short game, which is a combination of around the green and putting. He's 6th in scoring average, 7th in birdie or better percentage, 9th in par 4 birdie or better percentage. He's 11th in strokes gained putting, 12th in par 4 scoring, 14th in strokes gained tee to green and around the green, and then he is 24th in bogey avoidance. The 7th golfer is Joaquin Niemann. He's 8,700 on FanDuel, 7,800 on Draftkings. Odds to win the tournament 90 to 1. The 19-year-old Chilean is one of the future stars on the tour. He's probably going to be one of the faces of that next group of young stars, along with probably some current high school or college player. And they'll take that mantle after the group of Spieth, Thomas, Schauffele, Fowler, aren't considered young anymore. Niemann gave up his amateur status and turned pro after the Masters event this year, where he missed the cut and finished 69th. His pro debut resulted in a 6th place finish at the Valero, where he was 2nd in the field in total birdies and strokes gained approach, and then he was 10th in strokes gained tee to green. He missed the cut on the number at the Wells Fargo at 4 over. It was thanks largely in part to a 3 over back 9 on Friday. The talent is there, and in this glorified, web.com event, he certainly has the skill and firepower to be at or near the top of the leaderboard come Sunday. Last 5 events, he ranks first in the field strokes gained approach and strokes gained ball striking, as well as top 10 in strokes gained tee to green and greens and regulation percentage. Stats for the year, it's very limited, but he's 13th in the field, 13th in the field in birdie or better percentage. The last golfer is Grayson Murray. He's 9,300 on FanDuel, 8,200 on Draftkings. Odds to win the tournament at 55-1. Grayson, seems to like playing in the state of Texas. Last 2 events in Texas this year: 16th at the Valero, 14th at the Houston Open. He's got one other top 20 finish in his last 6 events. That was a 14th at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He's only missed 1 cut over those last 6 tournaments, and that was at a more precision-based RBC Heritage course. That really doesn't fit his game. Over the last 5 tournaments, Murray ranks 4th in the field, par 4 scoring and driving distance, 7th in strokes gained on par 4s. He's 12th in the field, or in that time frame, strokes gained tee to green, 17th in birdie or better percentage, and then he's 19th in strokes gained ball striking. For the year, compared to the field, he's 4th in the field, birdie or better percentage, 7th in driving distance, 10th in par 4, birdie or better percentage, 17th in strokes gained tee to green, and he's 18th in strokes gained ball striking. Once again, my plays this week: Jimmy Walker, Aaron Wise, Charles Howe III, Rory Sabatini, Peter Uihlein, Martin Laird, Joaquin Niemann, and Grayson Murray. Be sure to head over to dfsboutique.com, sign up for our PGA package. Some of the features that we offer are a weekly cheat sheet, cash and GPP rankings, odds versus pricing. You get a course and current form breakdown, and then you'll get a weekly player write-up as well as insight into my player pool. It typically runs anywhere between 30 and 40 golfers each week. Give the Fantasy Boutique YouTube page a like to get notified of all new under par segments. I noticed Jay dropped a NASCAR video last week. Alex was laying down the squeeze for MLB earlier this week. Head on over to Twitter, give myself a like, Boutique PGA, as well as give the Fantasy Boutique a like at DFS Boutique. That's all for this week. We'll be back next week for the Fort Worth Invitational, which was formerly the Dean and DeLuca Invitational, held at the Colonial Country Club just up the road in Fort Worth, Texas. And that event will actually feature a little bit more star power than this week. Among those that have tentatively committed to play are Ricky Fowler, Patrick Cantlay, Brooks Koepka, John Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Justin Rose, and Webb Simpson. So until next week, we'll talk to you later. Out.